Let's kick off this final hour here on a Pain-Free Friday with a little more college football from my boy Rich Sermonello.
Hey, Scott, let's talk Week 10 in college football. Another great weekend of games. We're now into November. Everything matters more than in October or September when it comes to the Heisman Trophy, National Championship, Conference Championship. Few takeaways from Week 10. First off, I'll start with the bad stuff. Penn State, just a miserable loss against Ohio State. I thought everything lined up for the Nittany Lions to finally break through against Ohio State. They collapsed down the stretch. 2 bad red zone trips, especially at the end of the game. This really comes down to James Franklin for me, Scott. I don't know what Penn State does. He's been very successful to a point. He's been a 10-win machine year after year. Great recruiter. I don't know. I'm not convinced that Penn State could go out and just get a better coach. But by the same token, 1-11 against Ohio State, 3-18 against top 10 opponents. He's going to get more shots because I think Penn State's still getting to the playoffs, but this is a big problem for Penn State. Now, a couple of winners for me. The biggest one is Ole Miss. I think it flew under the radar a little bit this weekend. They go into Fayetteville. A good Arkansas team, over 500 Arkansas team. The one thing that's been missing all year for Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin has been the offense, certainly in SEC games, averaging just 24 points a game. Before this weekend, they explode for 63. Jackson Dart, the Heisman contender in September, now looks like he might be a Heisman contender again. 6 touchdown passes, 5 to Jordan Watkins. Scott, they have a championship caliber defense. That's been the case all year long. That is a really good defense. If that offense has found its rhythm, and we'll learn a lot this weekend against Georgia, I think there's some opportunity to look at Ole Miss in terms of a national championship long shot, plus 3,000 on FanDuel. I know there's a lot of chalk. People are kind of turned off. Do I want to put money on Ohio State or Oregon or Georgia? If you want to look for an opportunity, Ole Miss at plus 3,000, it's really all hinging on this weekend. They host Georgia. That's the game of the week in Week 11. I really like the Rebels here, and I'll tell you why. Carson Beck continues to have problems. I don't think this is fixable this season. In SEC games, 6 of them, Scott, he's thrown 12 touchdown passes and 11 picks, 3 against Florida. I think he's going to have big problems this weekend against Ole Miss. Keep an eye on the Rebels. The other big winner, by the way, didn't play. Colorado. Looked like they were out of the Big 12 race. Kansas State loses. Iowa State loses. Buffs have 4 games that are winnable down the stretch. I think they have a possibility to sneak into the Big 12 title game against BYU. Big game for them this weekend at Texas Tech. Let's see what Prime and Travis Hunter can do with a week of rest.
How about get punched in the Adam's apple in Lubbock? That's what I want to see happen. Thanks, Rich. Rich Sermonello, everybody. All right, Carver High, we continue to roll into Saturday's games.
Yes, let's roll into Saturday's games right now, and we will start with all of the big ones. And Miami, absolutely one of the biggest as they look to get to 10-0. Noon East kick at Bobby Dodd against Georgia Tech, the Ramblin' Wreck. Cam Ward unstoppable in the second half this year. First and second half passing yards. First and second half touchdowns. Second in passer rating in the second half. 10.5 for Miami right now in this game. Fat total 63.5. Do they get it done against the Jackets?
Yeah, I think the Jackets will give them a couple of haymakers in the first half. I think they'll, be lit out of their minds, and the crowd will be crazy, and everybody will be jacked up. And then in the second half, Miami will shove it down their throat.
I think that Miami will take care of business. No problem whatsoever. You know what it is for me? They score too much. Well, they score too much. Like these teams that they have left, they're not going to be able to keep up with Miami. Even if Miami's messing around, I mean, they're going to score 30 in their sleep, 40 in their sleep against these teams. And I just don't think that Georgia Tech or anybody else they got left on their schedule is going to be able to. They're not going to. They're not going to be able to go blow for blow with Miami in this game, so I'm with you there. Next, Georgia and Ole Miss. 3:30 East kick in Oxford at the Grove. Of course, huge for Ole Miss as really last dance for them. They're 7-2. You don't want to get that third loss. This would bump them back into the mix. Georgia, very good in the top 4 right now of that college football playoff. Lane Kiffin usually, kind of says how he feels, maybe gives the teams a little bulletin board material. Not this week. He knows he's facing Georgia, and that's no joke.
Really, again, that one program, with a miracle half of Michael Vick showed up, and I just watched the film this morning, and looked like on a field of everybody that was big and fast, he was faster than everybody. So, and that's the only game they lost. With all that happening, they still came all the way back and took the lead at Alabama. So this is a great football team with great coaches and great personnel. So I said they won 51 straight games. Last time they lost, besides Alabama, was COVID to the Florida Gators. So it says a lot about what a great job he's done.
Listen, I think Lane Kiffin's done a great job at Ole Miss, and I think they have a great defense, and I still think Georgia's better than them, hands down. I hate to say it because I really don't like them, but they can beat anyone, any day, anywhere, in any game. They're going to go into that playoff, and they are going to rake everyone they play. They're just going to win. That's what they're going to do. They win. That's it. They're better than everybody. They really are. They're loaded. So they lost a game, and everyone thought the world ended. But they are still, in my view, the best team in college football. They really are. I think they'd kill. I think Georgia would kill Oregon.
They are 2.5-point favorites here on the road. The total's 54.5 now. It's down from 55.5. I know we said this earlier in the week. I like the under in this game. I know you do as well. Under.
So do I, big time, because I think Ole Miss's defense is terrific, and they're going to give Georgia a game, and then Georgia's going to find a way to win the game.
I agree. I think Georgia is going to pull it out. Next, also a 3:30 East kick in Bloomington for Indiana, looking to get to 10-0. Now, of course, Kurt Signetti has done. Yes, there it is.
Sorry.
Kurt Signetti. I got to get him in before the break here. Here's Signetti, of course. Now, Indiana undefeated. They're starting to see things like college football playoff rankings. No distractions, Coach says. We don't want
I'll see the rankings, but the only thing that really matters is that you get the result on, when you play. And to do that, you got to keep the main thing, and eliminate the noise and the clutter, and stay focused on what's going to help you play your best on Saturday to give you the best chance to get the result. And so, today we got to have a great meeting, great walkthrough, and stacked days, moments, hours to put ourselves in a position to do that, and not get sidetracked, by all the other stuff. And every week presents its own new set of circumstances, and so there's a lot of that going on this week. I'm aware of it. But
it's the first time I've ever been bored listening.
Kind of caught up on that and lose your focus would be the kiss of death.
I'm losing my focus, honestly. Let's go.
Kiss of death.
You know what? I have seen them my entire life lose to Michigan. I mean, my entire life. They've never beat them once. I want to see them kick them in the onions tomorrow. If it's the last thing I do, if they lose to Michigan and screw this up,
rub it in.
I'm gonna vomit all over myself. I really am. I'm gonna be sick. They're gonna have to come. They're gonna have to come with IV bags. They're gonna have to come with an ambulance. Something's gonna happen. I'm gonna have a stroke. I can't have it. I watched that Michigan State game. I started losing my temper, and then I got okay. I got a little rum in me. I got okay. I need to be okay tomorrow, and they need to be Michigan State.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10.9 last year. And he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from three.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
For the first time together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
We know the Jets have weaknesses. I mean, they didn't get to their record where they are now by being good, right? They got there because they stunk it up.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, so Florida State and Notre Dame, what could be worse?
Well, I will admit, usually I keep the big games separate and then I put everything else in the racks. Even myself, the big Notre Dame fan, when I did the racks this week, I forgot they were even playing this game. But I had to slip Notre Dame in somewhere, so here we go. Under the lights against Florida State, 26.5 this is up to now with the total of 42.5. I hope they continue to make Florida State's season as painful as possible here in South Bend.
Do you think they'll cover that big giant number?
Yes, I do. I actually do think they'll cover the big giant number.
Wow, so Notre Dame by like 27?
Florida State is so – they have mailed this season in. I mean, go and look at –
Miami couldn't cover that big number. They covered what was it? It was 20, what was it, 21? And then it went to 22 and a half. They didn't cover it.
That was 20, that was at Hard Rock, 22 and a half. A little bit more of a rivalry. I mean, look, they got blown out by North Carolina at home last week. I mean, they got blown out by SMU on the road.
Notre Dame, they're treating this team like they don't matter. They're playing down to Florida State, I guarantee it.
As I said to you, I think it was last week, I think Notre Dame has obviously already had their what the hell are we doing moment at home this year when they lost to Northern Illinois. I don't think that they're going to have another one when they're this close to a playoff berth.
Right.
I don't think that they're going to have another one at home.
They're not going to blow. They're not going to lose. I'm talking about covering
but I think,
here.
But they got to even still. You can't even play close games with bad teams at this point. You have to put the foot down and don't even put it in anyone's mind. Oh, well, they struggled. You got to smash teams. Alabama and LSU, huge game on Saturday night in the SEC. Both of these teams have 2 losses right now. You start looking at that college football playoff ranking thinking, is 3 going to be enough? Could be an elimination game. Brian Kelly seems to think so.
The implications are 12 changes the way you look at everything. Every game becomes more important in the regular season in November. That's why there's so many teams that are still feeling as though this is an elimination game or this is a big game. If this is an elimination game, Ole Miss and Georgia could be an elimination game. Every SEC game could be considered an elimination game. Or if you're Ole Miss, you're looking at it, we're getting back in it. right? So I think that's what 12 teams brings to the mix, is that it keeps everybody's perspective on the regular season longer into November.
Okay, thanks so much, Professor. Listen, this game is an elimination game. If Bama loses this game, they're done. They're not going to be in the playoff. That's all there is to it. So stop acting like it's not a big deal. Like this guy trying to serenade around this thing. Are you kidding me? What's next? Tiptoe through the tulips? Honest to Christ.
Yeah,
he's
same thing could be
he's starting to
said
lose
about
his
his
mind
team
down there, man. Get him some
No,
whiskey.
it's the gumbo.
Stop eating the
It's the gumbo.
jambalaya and gumbo.
Yeah, that's what does it to him. Alabama's favored here under the lights in Death Valley, 2.5 with a 58.5 total. I told you this the other day. Brian Kelly under the lights at home with LSU has never lost. 13-0, I believe, is the number. 13 or 14-0. Never lost under the lights at home.
LSU.
I'm taking LSU as well. One more feature game for you, and I love the late night kicks after 10 o'clock East, and the return of the holy war between BYU and Utah out at Rice Eccles, and it's got a lot of gas this year because BYU's undefeated, and you saw them in that top 4 this week on that first college football playoff ranking. They are a 3-point favorite on the road at Utah. Has had a bad year. 40.5 is the total.
Yeah, I'm on BYU here. I see no reason to believe in that 500 Utah team with their crappy quarterbacks. And I don't care where they play the game. This BYU team is legit. And I say they go in there and clean up by a tutty or more.
Wow, tutty or more, huh? Early in the week, I did scoop up a 4.5 with Utah, getting 4.5 because I just felt like big rivalry game. We might get. I think BYU wins, but I think it could be a close one out there at Utah. All right, racks for tomorrow. Let's ride. Purdue at Ohio State. Florida and Texas. You were talking to Coach about this one earlier. Very big number for the Longhorns in Austin. Minnesota laying on the road in Piscataway. Syracuse heading to Chestnut Hill to see the Fighting Bluets. Cincinnati, 3.5-point favorite over West Virginia.
Yeah, look, I want nothing to do with the Ohio State game. Coming off that Penn State game, they got to be bored to death playing Purdue. I'm not laying 37.5. I'll go over 53.5, though. And then I like Texas. I think they will cover against the Gators. They're playing like a high school kid at quarterback now. They're playing the walk-on. They have no choice. They're playing in Austin and Memorial. They're dead meat. Minnesota wins in Piscataway. Rutgers season's over. Syracuse is going to win in Chestnut Hill because they're flat out better. They're a problem. Miami has to worry about them finishing their season at Cuse at the Dome. And West Virginia's going to Cincinnati to lose to the Bearcats. They'll cover Cincinnati. Win and cover.
We will come back, and I have 3 more racks for you coming up for tomorrow. I'll give you the most popular college bets as well for this weekend. And we got a lot more. Remember, we're here till 6:30 East. So in that last half an hour, Scotty, I got a ton of NBA for tonight. I've got a ton of college rack, including North Carolina and Kansas. What? We've got hockey tonight. I've got some baseball notes. There's a ton of stuff that we still have to do, even after we finish all these racks at the end of the hour.
I mean, thank God that we have the opportunity to continue rocking all of the sports skinny. We've got so much more to talk about. Why would we ever want to be done right now when we can keep rocking more skinny? Everybody wants to know everything. We cover everything on Coast to Coast. Like you read about, we're going to hit the NBA games. We're going to bet on those. We're going to hit the NHL. We're going to hit college rack. And baseball, you got to be kidding me. You can't slow us down, Romeo.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10.9 last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from three.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
For the first time together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
We know the Jets have weaknesses. I mean, they didn't get to their record where they are now by being good, right? They got there because they stunk it up.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We always love going through the racks of ribs for Saturday's college football games.
We certainly do. Let's keep going here. Iowa State and Kansas get together at Arrowhead is where they're going to play this game. Iowa State -2.5. Army, of course, still undefeated. They're laying on the road at North Texas. Clemson, road favorite, into Blacksburg against the Hokies. Duke visits NC State in Raleigh, and a good one in the Big 12 as well. Colorado and Texas Tech. Buffalo's 4.5-point road favorites.
Yeah, I like the Raiders in Lubbock to upset Colorado with that 4.5. I think they'll beat them outright. I think, look, I'm gonna go. I'm really gonna go rogue here. I'm gonna take Duke at Raleigh at Carter Finley to win that game against NC State. I like Clemson in Lane Stadium in Blacksburg to beat Virginia Tech, and I'm gonna flip. I don't like to, but I'm going to flip. I think North Texas will beat Army in Frisco and hand them their first loss. North Texas outright, and Iowa State will beat Kansas at Arrowhead Stadium because Kansas is hairdryer city.
You know, Army has been absolutely smashing teams, and that's a very short number. That tells you North Texas, they're not a bad football team. They're not bad in that conference. That is a tough game for Army on the road down there, and there's going to be a lot of points scored in that game too. So anything can happen. South Carolina and Vandy, both teams have been playing well this year in the SEC. They get together. Nashville, the Gamecocks favorites on the road. Maryland getting a boatload in Eugene against the Ducks. Mississippi State, the same thing at Neyland against Tennessee. UCF makes the trip out to Tempe to see Arizona State. Sun Devils favored at home, and Oklahoma State getting 10.5 in Fort Worth against TCU.
Well, they're going to need it because their season's over. They've already imploded. TCU's going to win and cover. Arizona State at home. I like Mississippi State in the number in Knoxville to give them a game, make that a game. Oregon's going to destroy Maryland at Outson and cover. And that number is way too high in Smashville. Take Vandy in the 6.5 against South Carolina. In fact, everyone who goes there loses. I like them. I like Vandy to win the game.
And the final rack for you here, Washington makes the trip to Happy Valley. Penn State, of course, coming off that loss to Ohio State. Now, Nevada at Boise. Boise, of course, laying a big number. Virginia into the place the Steelers play to see Pitt minus 7.5, Utah State into Washington State, and UNLV makes the long trip to the islands against Hawaii. They are laying on the road there.
Everyone that goes there screws up, but the Rebels won't. They'll win and cover. Washington State's going to roll at home and cover. I think Pitt should get back on track after the tough loss where they got smoked in Dallas by SMU. I think they'll take it out on Virginia. Boise is going to roll Nevada on the blue carpet, and Penn State's going to easily cover against Washington because they cover against everyone that doesn't matter. They just can't beat good teams.
I agree. That's going to be like a James Franklin give back to the boosters. They've all basically told him, you better smash this week. We're all getting back on you. You're laying a big number. Smash City for the Nittany Lions and the big whiteout. Don't forget they're doing the whiteout on Saturday night as well. And everybody gets very excited about that.
Whatever.
Texas wide receiver Jonte Cook no longer with the team. Finished with him. And the most popular bets for college football this week, they are Penn State, 81%. The number one, laying that 13.5. Georgia, Oregon, Notre Dame, Army, Nevada, Clemson, LSU, Miami, Florida, and Colorado. Nevada. 68% of the bets are on Nevada, getting the 24.5 at the Blue Turf. How about that?
Yeah, I'm not interested in that plan. Or Florida or Colorado. I got to tell you, I don't like that Notre Dame one either. And I don't like Army. And I like the other ones. I like Penn State and Georgia. And that Georgia 2.5 is way juicier than 3. I'll tell you that much.
It's going to be a fun college football Saturday every week here this last month.
Which one is it?
It's
so much
big
better
time
than
games
the
here.
NFL. It's not even funny. Cheerleaders, bands, fans, they play till 2 a.m. The games kick off at 11 p.m. I mean, like the NFL, they give you like 8 to 10 games, whether you like it or not, and stick you at 9:30 in the morning with Wiener Schnitzel. Who needs it? College football kicks its ass.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10-point line last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from 3.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Ferrall has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast.
Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money.
It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
So we go till 6:30 on Friday nights now during college football. So here we go as we just got finished with all the college football games. We still got a lot of NBA, college, rack, NHL, everything you need to make some money. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Carver High, take it away, Calgon.
Yeah, let's go to the NBA now. We have a very thick slate tonight. A few things first. T-Wolves beat the Bulls last night, 135-119. Ant had 33. Ant was really all over the place for the T-Wolves last night. He was outstanding. Took over the game. Great stuff from him seeing that. Bucks beat the Jazz 123-100. Dame Time had 34. Of course, they have a back-to-back tonight in the Garden against the Knicks. Spurs beat Portland 118-105 in the other game. LaMelo Ball off to a hot start, 28 points a game, 6 assists, 4.5 threes per game. Nobody denies that he's not a badass. The problem is he's starting to fall into that he never plays category. Like the last 2 years, he's gotten hurt. He's a badass when he plays. Can he actually play all the games? I think that's the problem with him.
Well, listen, I don't know. He's been sturdier than his brother. I'll give him that much.
Well,
but look,
who hasn't?
Listen, I think LaMelo's a great player. This guy sees the floor, I think, frankly, like no other player in the league. Like his vision of the floor, and he threw a half-court lob pass the other night that was just a dime. Beautiful. He's got all kinds of game. There's no denying it. He's crazy, too. Like, have you ever seen him interview this guy? He's whacked out of his mind. He's just completely bizarre. And he behaves like an animal. He cusses right on TV, like right in the middle of interviews. He drops F-bombs. He starts singing songs. He's crazy. We got to get more of him on C2C. That guy's another Fruit Loop. I'm telling you, he's a wacko. You'd love him on this show. I like his game, I got to admit. And his brother can play too, but his brother's knees are peanut brittle.
They certainly are. And the Cavs, second team in NBA history to score 110 points or more and win each of their first 9 games of the season. This is the first time since 1960-61. The 76ers with Will Chamberlain was the last time a team started 9-0 and scored more than $110 per game.
I
so we've had 2 of these the last
day rate
yes.
Will Chamberlain the 6th best player ever in the NBA's lore, and I spit out my cereal. Like, are you kidding me? 6th best? This guy could have scored 100 points every night he played. No one could stop him. He dominated the NBA like no other. 6th best, my ass. There's not even a big today that could guard him. Like, honestly, that's an insulting number. Number 6. What moron drip came up with that ranking? 6th best player ever. Jesus Christ. Honestly, that guy, can we move that guy to soccer or something with his opinions? Move that guy to soccer. How's that for an idea? We're going to move you over to a different beat since your basketball opinion sucks so bad. 6th
You are now
best
so far
ever.
away.
Stop it.
Most of the people that are doing this stuff obviously never saw him play. I mean, you're getting into the realm now where
it's your first job.
You've got a lot of these guys. You're actually starting to now get in the generation. A lot of these guys didn't even see Jordan play. That you've kind of.
I don't even watch
these guys
highlights.
between 20,
That's how stupid
20
they
and
are.
30.
Don't even try to sell me. I'm wrong.
So it's a very tough thing to do with the old time players because these lists. None of these guys have seen them. They didn't see any of these guys play. Big slate tonight. Let's start with Ball and those Hornets who we were talking about before. They are at home at the Hornets' Nest against the Pacers tonight. Pacers road favorites -6.5. Fat total here. I love these when you get into 230s, 235.5.
God, they cover every game. Like they cover every game. But this is a better team they're facing than beating the Pistons by 1, right? Like so. That's why that number's so high, but it's super dangerous. I like Charlotte in the 7 against the Pacers. I really do. It's too many points.
The Hawks are into Detroit against the Pistons tonight. Pistons minus 1.5, 227.5 is the total.
Again, I think the Hawks are better than the Pistons, and it's a pick 'em. I'll take it. I'll take Atlanta.
The Pelicans head to Orlando, where they will see the Magic tonight. Both these teams out to 3-6 starts. Orlando minus 7.5 with the 210.5 as the total. And I'll tell you, listen to this laundry list. No Zion tonight, no Trey Murphy tonight. Obviously, they already were without McCollum. Pelicans missing a lot of bodies tonight in Orlando against the Magic.
Magic. I like the Magic. I liked them even before you said that because they both stink. And I think that Franz and company have to get a home win tonight. Suggs. I mean, can somebody step the F up? Like, they act like Banchero died or something, and none of them can play since the guy got injured. I mean, honestly.
That certainly is how they've been operating so far. The Nets, who are out to a 4-4 start, are in Boston against the Celtics. Celtics coming off a rare home loss to the Warriors, laying almost 2 tutties. 13.5 for the C's tonight, 220.5 total.
After what I saw them do in losing to the Dubs, they're going to take it out on Ben Simmons and the Nets tonight up there. They're going to win by 20.
It's very possible. I'm with you. I'd lay it with the Celtics tonight at home. The game of the night, the Warriors out to a 7-1 start. We just mentioned they won in Boston. Now they'll try to win in Cleveland and give the Cavs their first loss of the season. They are 9-0. Cleveland minus 4.5, 230.5 the total.
Let's roll with the Dubs here in the 4 spot in Cleveland at the Rocket. Let's go.
Yes, I was going to say the same thing. Let's go. We're going with them. The Bucks, off the win last night, got themselves to 2-6. They're at the Garden against the Knicks, who also are out to a slow start, 3-4. Knicks minus 6.5, 223.5.
Yeah, I don't trust the Knicks. I think they've looked awful, so I'll take the 6.5 with the Bucks. I think the Knicks win by like a bucket at best.
Phoenix on the road, 7-1 start for them into Dallas against the Mavericks. Mavs minus 2.5, 232.5 the total.
You know, Luka, Kyrie, and Clay get up for games like this. The Suns have been winning every night. They came back from 15 down the other night, living dangerously. They lose tonight in the AA in Dallas. Mavs win and cover.
Grizzlies coming off that big win at home over the Lakers. They have the Wizards in town tonight. 7.5-point home favorite for the Grizz, 231.5 total.
Yeah, I like Morant and the Grizzlies to run them off the floor.
Houston visits OKC at the Chesapeake tonight. OKC coming off their first loss of the year. 7.5-point favorites at home, 221.5 total.
I'm seeing 8.5. If I can get 8.5, I'm going to take a stab with the Rockets. I think the Thunder win the game, but I think it's going to be a great game.
The Trailblazers, who lost in San Antonio last night, tonight they are in Minnesota against the T-Wolves, who, of course, won in Chicago. So both these teams' second night of a back-to-back. T-Wolves minus 11.5, 219.5 the total.
I'll take the points. I think the T-Wolves will win the game at Target, but won't cover the fat number.
The Heat are in Denver against the Nuggets. Nuggets minus 2.5, 220.5 the total.
Denver at home at the ball. They're starting to play better all of a sudden, and they've been hitting for me this week. I'll stick with them. Lay it.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Are you okay with him moving to the head of the class of the Heisman with those two games? Because he wasn't even in the discussion before those two games.
This is a big opportunity for Dylan if he wants to continue to make his case for the Heisman Trophy, and I think he's shown that. I mean, what is he, a sixth-tier player who's going to probably end up setting most of the passing marks because he's been around for so long? So why not also throw a Heisman Trophy in the mix?
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10-point line last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from three.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
So, Philly has to play at the Crypt tonight. They lost at the Intuit in Inglewood the other night to the Clippers. They have no one. They have no Maxey. They have no JoJo. They have Paul George, who doesn't like when people boo him, and he went 15-18 in his first two games. So I'm guessing tonight he has the 23 to 25 points. I still say they get whacked by the Lakers. They got nothing. The Sixers look terrible.
And you also factor in the Lakers are coming home off of an awful road trip. What'd they go, 1-4 on that trip? I mean, the Lakers were awful on the road. They got hammered in Memphis. You'd like to think they're going to have some pushback here tonight. They're 7.5-point favorites against the Sixers. 224.5 is the total. I'm with you. I lay it with the Lakers tonight at the Crypto.
LeBron, AD, Hillbilly, Mamba, they're going to run him off the floor.
And finally, last game, late night in Sacramento, where the Clippers will head up state to take on the Kings. -6.5 for Sacramento, 223.5 the total.
I love Sabonis and Fox and Monk. I think they'll stomp the Clippers tonight. I really don't think the Clippers are good at all. I think they played a Philly team the other night and won because Philly is so broken right now.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at as well. I'll take the Kings in this game. Sabonis has been excellent as well. So there you go. NBA tonight, full slate all over. We actually have a full slate of college rack as well on a Friday night.
It right now.
It's already started. I got a couple games in these racks that have already started. I know that, which we'll get to in a moment. But there's one game that actually stands above the rest tonight. Real good one in Lawrence at, of course, Fog Island, where we will have North Carolina and Kansas getting together. Kansas right now -7.5, 160.5. This total's up from this morning. Should be a fun one, and that tips in about 45 minutes, Scotty, 7 East in Allen.
I mean, if it's such a great game, then can we get North Carolina to cover the 7.5? I hate Kansas. I hate North Carolina, but I hate Kansas more, and they get every call at Allen Fieldhouse. They never lose. They always blah, blah, blah. I'd love to see the Heels show up for this enormous game tonight and cover. I'm worried, though, like betting Baylor against Gonzaga, they got whacked. I don't think North Carolina gets whacked tonight. I'll take a shot with the 7.5. What do I have to lose?
Got to be better than that Baylor-Gonzaga game the other night,
That's the worst
right?
game ever.
I mean,
worst game ever.
Got to be better than that game, or at least I hope. All right, couple racks of college for tonight. Army and Duke has already started. Duke's up 12-8 with about 13 and a half minutes to go in the first half, so they're well on their way. You also have VCU and BC in the Veterans Classic. That has started
6-4
as well.
VCU.
Right now, 6-4. Purdue taking on Northern Kentucky tonight. Cincinnati against Morehead State. Ole Miss against Grambling State. Some very heavy numbers, all in the 20s there.
Yeah, like Purdue to me is naked without Zach Edey. They're not the same team, but they'll beat Northern Kentucky certainly. And Cincinnati at home, man, that's a huge number. I'll take Morehead State with that number. Ole Miss laying 22.5. I think they can handle that against Grambling, to be honest with you.
I think that they can as well for that game. Next, Arkansas State into Alabama. And if you watched Alabama the other night, they got no problems absolutely laying it on anyone. So I'd expect another 50-point win for them. Texas taking on Houston Christian. They got Texas A&M taking on Texas A&M Commerce tonight. Texas A&M Commerce they're playing. Marquette against George Mason, UCLA, and New Mexico late night as well.
Well, yeah, that's dangerous. To be honest with you, I might take UCLA's ranked for what? For what reason? Is that just like a preseason thing? Lobos at home with the 4.5. Marquette at home, lay it. I don't trust A&M covering 31.5 to save my ass. Texas will beat Houston Christian. Now, that's a scary spread there. I mean, we've already seen Texas get beat by Ohio State, so I say they don't cover the 30 and a hook. Alabama will cover the 24 and a hook.
That UCLA game, by the way, that is a neutral site game. They're playing that game in Henderson, Vegas, at the Lee's Family Forum out there. So out in Henderson, Nevada is where New Mexico is.
What am I going to do? Flip now? Like, give me the Lobos.
Can't flip. Take the Lobos. Come on. You said it. UCLA, they're not that great. They shouldn't be ranked to start the year. Come on. And finally, we'll have some hockey.
Everybody loves hockey.
For you tonight. Everybody does love hockey, that's for sure. Detroit is in Toronto tonight. I did just see the Leafs put Austin Matthews officially on the IR, so he's going to be out for a little bit as he's already injured. A tradition unlike any other. We've seen it many times, and it happens again. Crosby against Ovechkin in D.C. tonight, and I know you've been keeping track. Ovi has been smoking hot. He's got like 6 goals in his last 5 games. Right. The guy's been going on a tear, which he needs, by the way. He wants to get closer to Gretzky. You also have Vegas tonight. They are on the card against Seattle and Minnesota and Anaheim at the Duck Pond late night.
All right, so I like the Wild on the pond. I like Vegas and Seattle. I like the Capitals over the Penguins. And I'm just so dangerous. I'm going to go Red Wings with an upset in Toronto. No Matthews. That'll throw them off their game. Let's go Red Wings. They haven't been that bad. They have almost the same record as the Leafs. Let me go with Patty Kane and take a shot to Brinken and company on the road, especially with a goal and a half if I can get my hands on it.
Ovechkin, of course, now with 861 there. He's sitting at 861. So, yeah, he's getting closer every week. All right, we'll come back, and I will do all the baseball in leftovers, including our favorite manager in baseball, going to be back again, getting his option picked
we'll make
up.
Fun of him for another year.
Yes. So we will do that. So we'll come back and do all the baseball and the Ferrall finish in the leftovers. That's what we got left before we go.
I don't know what that was, but it sounded good. That should have been
I don't know either.
That ejected him from the Yankees job.
you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10-point line last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from three.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
For the first time together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
We know the Jets have weaknesses. I mean, they didn't get to their record where they are now by being good, right? They got there because they stunk it up.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Speaking of leftovers, Aaron Boone is certainly leftover.
He certainly is leftover. There's no doubt about that. Aaron Boone will return as the Yankee manager. There was never any doubt about that. Some thought maybe he would just be given a full-blown, new 3 or 4 year extension. As of now, it's just team picks up his option for 2025. So Aaron Boone's still the manager of the Yankees. Louis Heel was named the Baseball Digest 2024 AL Rookie of the Year, and Skeens was named the NL. Now, I'm just going to say this to you.
Nobody
all right?
was better than Louis Heel.
I got two things then. A, you're right. Nobody was better than Louis Heel. He's not going to win the real Rookie of the Year award, which is, I don't understand this. Like, they make a big deal about the Baseball Digest Rookie of the Year. Like, that's not the one that matters. 20 years from now, they're not going to go, you remember when, because let's use Skeens as an example, because he's going to win both. 20 years from now, they're not going to say, Skeens was the Rookie of the Year and the Baseball Digest Rookie of the Year. They're not going to say that. Nobody cares about the Baseball Digest Rookie of the Year.
Got that right.
So just enough. And I'm still waiting. I told you, I got to wait a week from Monday for this Skeens Rookie of the Year ticket. I'm still upset. The 18th. I believe, is when they're going to announce the Rookies of the Year. 18th or 19th, that week is when that stuff comes out. Enough. But if you do want to see Paul Skeens this weekend.
In the
interim, you could see him and the girlfriend, Livy Dunn, as they'll be the guest pickers in Baton Rouge for College Game Day, is where they'll be this weekend. So you have a chance to see Skeens. Big LSU guy. I bet you he's going to pick LSU as well at the end of that game, of course. And I
don't care what he picks. I just am glad she's going to be there. I hope she wears her gymnastics outfit.
Yes. And New York sportsbooks rake in a record $2.3 billion with a B in bets in the month of October. Now, let's remember something here. Why was this month so big? You had the Yankees and the Mets both make deep runs in the MLB playoffs, and you had all the football. That's a night, and college. That's a perfect storm to have the biggest month of betting ever in the state of New York.
How do you think sportsbooks are doing in New York and New Jersey? You think they're making any money?
Yeah, they're doing fine. Although I did see them with their story. Last week was the lowest week in like 2 years. They just had the biggest month ever last month. They could take a week off.
Don't believe a word they say about anything. They are swimming in money and always have since day one. Ferrall at finish time. An ex-U.S. Air Force pilot is accused of kidnapping, drugging, and sexually assaulting a 9-year-old girl in the UK. Heaven forbid. What is happening here? A nut job in New York stabbed a man through his car window over a fight over a cigarette until a good Samaritan came along and bashed his head in with a baseball bat. Does that really get you the Good Samaritan tag? Here comes a guy down the street with a baseball bat to handle the matter, and he's given a Good Samaritan badge. Is that like I got a voting sticker thing? The lady goes, "Do you want your sticker?" I go, "No, I don't want the sticker. Don't touch me. I really don't. Honestly, don't touch me." Ex-baseball coach at a ritzy New York City private school is accused of sexually abusing 7 children. Oh, my God. Scarface star Angel Salazar died from acute intoxication from drug use, including cocaine. He was the guy that got cut up by the chainsaw in the shower scene. One of the greatest scenes in movie history. Your boy, Angel. If you had to go into that scene, you might be doing some acute intoxication of more than cocaine. Pizza shop serves THC-laced pies, sickening dozens of customers. Bodies have been washing up in Jamaica Bay, and the residents are concerned. Gee, you think? How many bodies? Is there an over-under on bodies in the Bay that you're not concerned about washing up on shore? It has to hit a certain plateau, the number. Dangerous amounts of mold and E. coli and salmonella found in street marijuana. Have another toke. Nothing like a little E. coli in your reefer. GTD is next. I think it is anyway. I can't keep track of the schedule. Go to FerrallOnTheBench.com. Have an awesome weekend. Enjoy all the college and pro football. We'll see you Monday at 3, allegedly on Coast to Coast.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have it. Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.